Yo everyone, what's going on? Couriway here, and welcome back to another video where I am reacting and analyzing a speedrun, but this one is a little different to the ones I've done in the past because I'm actually analyzing my own run that I faked with Danny Gonzalez, which was quite the experience. If you haven't seen this video yet, go check it out in the description. Long story short, Danny wanted to fake a speedrun in hardcore Minecraft to get back at his friend for something. I don't want to spoil the whole video. It was crazy. It was awesome. Again, check out the whole video from Danny. What I want to do in this video is kind of go over how we planned this with the run, because obviously I'm playing, but I can't communicate with him, right? And Danny, let's say, isn't the most knowledgeable with Minecraft speedrunning things. Would you actually break those blocks? Like,
yeah, I might. Yeah.
Okay. There were a lot of things that I would normally do in a speedrun that I couldn't do in this, or had to change how I do them. So I think it's really interesting to kind of see that thought process and how this ended up working, because I know it was very stressful for Danny, and it was definitely stressful for me as well. To put some context into this run before we get right into it, this was towards the end of Danny's stream, and I was only there for one night. So if we didn't get it on like literally this speedrun, I maybe had 5 or 10 more minutes to load seeds and hopefully get another world. Otherwise, it would have just been over and it would have been a failure. All right, without further ado, let's get into this run here. This is pretty interesting. I think the first thing that I noticed is that Danny probably wanted to reset the seed because there didn't look like there was an ocean, and he couldn't really tell that where I was looking in the far left was actually an ocean. And I went for it and played it because I needed to get anything that was even remotely playable. And it worked out really well because there's a monument in that little gap that he notices as well.
Oh, dude, we got a monument in the distance right there. Do you guys see that?
So that actually worked out really perfectly. He gets a little excited about the monument. And the first thing that you'll notice is I'm obviously not grabbing wood tools how I would or a professional speedrunner would. Danny told me very specifically we had to iron out a lot of different things on how he plays, what I do that wouldn't work, or things that he doesn't know about, or that his chat doesn't know that he knows about. So I was given very strict instructions on, like, I want to grab exactly 5 logs. We're going to craft a boat, doors, and an axe like this. And then I made the suggestion that we should grab at least wood in the beginning in case we aren't able to get more wood later on in the run. So that's why I end up grabbing wood here that he wouldn't probably have grabbed otherwise. The next thing you'll notice is I see a boat instantly. If I pause, you can see there's a boat right here. I see this boat like now, pretty much. And Danny told me to look at things very specifically if I see something with the crosshair. So you'll notice I point my crosshair right on the boat here. I pointed it right on the boat in hopes that he would see it, and he doesn't. So I'm still looking at the boat. I'm looking right at the boat. My crosshair is literally right on the boat.
Oh, and we got a boat right in front of the thing.
And then he sees it. So as soon as I realize that he sees the boat, I turn down my render distance for the monument. And you might be wondering, Couriway, why are you playing a monument? Bastions are all the rave in speedrunning. That's what everyone does. Danny doesn't know how to do bastions, and when I originally helped him learn the meta for speedrunning and learned what he wanted to accomplish in speedrunning, he wasn't going for a world record, right? He was going for a good under hour run. And the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is to use a monument, because monuments have 8 gold blocks, and instead of having to learn all these different bastion types for a very similar amount of gold blocks, you can just grab the gold from the monument, learn basically only one thing that's even simpler than a single bastion instead of learning 4 different bastion types. So huge there. Huge that I was able to get this iron in this chest. When I got that iron, I really thought this run was cooking, as long as I didn't get donged in the monument, which is when you get hit by the mining fatigue from the Elder Guardian. And then I'm able to go in here, grab carrots. Danny was actually hoping I got suspicious stew. I don't know why Danny wanted suspicious stew so bad, but carrots are actually better because I'm able to turn them into golden carrots as well. You'll notice my crafting is very slow, even slow for me, and I'm not a great crafter. But that's because my mouse was very crazy in this run, because I had to play on very high sensitivity in the game, but very low sensitivity when I was menuing, because Danny's sensitivity is off the wall, crazy fast. So to counteract that, I lowered my sensitivity on my mouse all the way down, because the way that this live stream worked, if you weren't aware, is that Danny played for about an hour and then switched the control to me playing Minecraft so that it wouldn't be suspicious that he got the run immediately into the stream. So I had to play with Danny's mouse settings. I couldn't like change everything beforehand. So my DPI was very low on my mouse, which made it really hard to craft things and move things around in my inventory. But I think that worked out in helping me look worse than I actually am. Then we had to do the monument a very specific way by not putting down doors, which I wanted to do. You'll see I want to put down a door here, but then I remember, I can't do that. That's not what Danny does. So I have to wait to place down a door until I get in here. And then Danny also spends time closing this up so he doesn't get shot. So I have to do that as well. And that's really difficult because when you're doing a monument, you're basically on a timer until you get mining fatigue, right? So I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get mining fatigue. So I tried to do that as fast as I could without having it look too suspicious. So then I instantly get all the gold blocks and I am leaving. Something else you'll notice is that Danny does not pick up his boat. And we talked about this. It's not something that he does, even though it's the right play. And I could teach him now to be like, hey, don't leave your boat, pick it up so you can leave easier from boats, etc. It wouldn't have made sense in the speedrun, and it could have been something that people realized, oh, that's something Danny doesn't do. Why did he randomly start doing that? So that was something I was very cognizant of, and you may have noticed it when I looted the boat before, when I was talking about the DPI and the monument stuff. I had to basically go up to the surface and go back to my boat instead of just having the boat in my inventory, and I didn't realize that in the boat. I made it look very weird. This was pretty funny. I put my boat specifically in the giant magma because I thought it would get a fun reaction out of Danny for his chat. And then I was able to go here and grab this loot, which is really nice. And I was really happy to get this ruined portal because it allowed me to grab another gold block and basically seal the deal for grabbing carrots. Now, obviously, if you're familiar with speedrunning, you know there's another gold block underneath the ruined portal, but I don't think Danny would have recognized that, so I didn't go for it, even though you see it for like a split second. I didn't think it was believable. So instead, I spend time here crafting golden carrots. He kind of looks confused. He's confused about the boat falling down, which is what I wanted. I got a funny reaction out of him. I was happy. And then I don't think he was fully aware of like golden carrot stuff, but I knew as soon as I got the carrots that I was going to make them into golden carrots because it's super easy. And I don't think it's something that's like too hard to pull off as believable. So now we're in a boat. Now all we need is a magma ravine and we're going to be able to enter the nether here. And I see one pretty fast. I angle my camera just to make sure it's real, and it is. And Danny notices it instantly.
Oh, we got a magma ravine, baby. I think it's safe to say we're going to the nether.
Which is awesome, and this is amazing pace for something like this. And then I saw another magma ravine. You saw me go over it, but I wasn't as confident in that one, and this is the one that we saw, so I wanted to stick with this one. And then I make a really dumb play here that was actually 100% my fault, and obviously Danny doesn't realize it, but maybe he did actually and just didn't want to like mess up me in the process. But I'm grabbing flint here for no reason because you literally watched me grab a flint and steel out of the ruined portal chest. But that was a giant waste of time. But thankfully I do finally end up getting a flint for no reason, and it goes down the magma, which is just absolutely lovely. But I think it worked out because you could tell Danny mentioned it in his video how stressful he was during it. And I was definitely stressful as well, especially because I knew, like I said in the beginning, this was realistically like my last chance to really get this done for us. So I was happy with that. We're entering the nether again really fast here for the standards that we're going for. Realistically, all we want is a time under an hour. And we're on pace for an easy sub 30 right now. So this is awesome. And then I realize I have flint and steel, so I use that. And I can't grab lava here because Danny told me specifically not to get lava here, as he's very excited. We're entering the nether.
Look at this biome, baby.
And as soon as I saw crimson here, I knew it was the run. I had no idea where a fortress was or anything, but as soon as I saw crimson, I was like, okay, this is literally all I need. This is perfect. This is going to be the one. I'm playing this out to completion.
Let's go.
I grab lava because I definitely want it to deal with hoglins, and then I start organizing my inventory just a little bit, which is something you'll notice. My hotbar is completely out of whack. And that's because Danny doesn't organize his inventory. There were an insane amount of hoglins, absolutely crazy amount of hoglins. There was no time for me to organize my inventory because Danny said that's something that he doesn't do. And that was one of the first things I asked him actually is, how do you do inventory management? Like, where should I put my tools? Where should I put anything? And Danny basically said, I don't do that. So I had to play with very, very random things, which worked out fine. If you know me, you know that I'm a scroll player. I don't really hotkey to specific items. I rather just use my mouse scroll wheel to get to them. So it didn't affect me as much as it might affect other runners. So I was fine with it, but it was definitely still like weird to have like my axe in my 9 slot and just like a bunch of stuff everywhere.
Yes,
and I see a first piglin. I'm like, okay, this is great. Danny said he normally goes for 2 piglins, which is something he says in a second here anyway. And then I throw my pickaxe because I'm not used to my hotkeys, as I just said.
Usually I try to look for 2 pigs, but I'm going to take what I can get right now. And if another one comes along, then so be it.
Yeah, so he mentions the 2 pig part. I throw a little bit of gold because I don't think I'm going to stay with this one pig either, but it just gets the trades going a little bit to see, you know, do we get an early pearl trade? Do we get an early fire res trade? Like, what am I kind of working with here? Then I climb up here. I'm looking for any pigs, trying to get some high ground, looking for anything. I see a hoglin, and then I see 2 pigs. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. But we have a scary moment. How am I going to deal with the hoglin in hardcore mode? What am I going to do? I'm going to place the lava bucket. Now, this is something that I don't know if Danny knows how to do, but I decided to do it very, very calmly. I'm not going to try and time it right to get the food because that might be too suspicious. So all I do is go for just lava the hoglin, let it die, and then pick up the lava afterwards. I throw out the gold specifically like that because that's how Danny does it instead of throwing it out of my inventory or just pressing like Control Q. And then I hop back down to check this gold while I'm dealing with the other piglins. And this was like the first big, you know, lot of stuff happening in the run.
Dude, 8!
8 pearls. Huge that we got a big pearl trade off the bat. That made me feel so much more confident, especially because even though we got an extra gold block from the ruined portal, monument gold is definitely not guaranteed by any means. So for pearl trades and string trades, etc. So I was really happy to get an early pearl trade that made me feel really good. And now we're going to pie chart for the fortress. Now, something about Danny's setup that is a little bit different than mine is that Danny plays on a 4K monitor. I don't. I just play on a 1080 monitor. So what it means is that the pie chart is smaller. Contrary to other things in Minecraft that are tied to the GY scale, the pie chart isn't because it's part of the debug menu. So the pie chart is very, very small on Danny's screen, and I don't realize you'll see it. I accidentally misclick a button here when I hotkey to my, in case you missed it, it's when I hotkey to my pickaxe. What I'm doing is I'm pressing the button 2, which is going to put me in a separate part of the pie chart, which I don't realize I'm doing because I'm not used to these controls. So you'll see this purple goes away because I clicked 2, and now I'm in a separate part of the pie chart when I'm looking for the spawner, and I don't realize it, which is really bad because now I'm going to waste a bunch of time here going for a pie chart, and obviously I can't say anything to Danny. I don't even realize it at this point, and Danny's going to be really confused on why this isn't working. So this was a big stressful moment for me personally in the run because I thought this would give it away if I didn't play this very, very carefully. So at this point, I still think like everything's peachy. I don't even realize anything's wrong. And then when this happens, I tried all of the directions, and now I have to try diagonal.
That means it's like diagonal, which is kind of annoying.
And thankfully, as Danny says, sometimes it can be diagonal, which is something I actually taught him before the stream. So it's something that he might be able to pull off with his chat, but I was a little bit worried about this. It kind of makes sense. And then right about here is when I notice, when I go over this diagonal chunk, this is when I notice, okay, something's not right. Let me look at my pie chart, and then I accidentally do something bad here. I will, okay, well, I don't do it yet, but I do press 0 to get back to the pie chart that I'm supposed to be on, which is this. You can see now I have purple and the blue is the spawner. And then I accidentally do a shift lowering of my render, which is bad because Danny doesn't know how to do that. So I got really worried when I accidentally did that, and I tried to correct myself like instantly, like, okay, let's not do that again. So now I fix my render to 15, and now I know that it is that direction for the pie chart for the spawner. But here's the thing. Danny is not as familiar with what I just did as I am. So I know confidently, okay, I know what direction I have to go. Danny did not see it, so that's why he's not reacting. He still thinks we have to find it. He's stressed out about it, and I have to kind of recognize that and be like, okay, I'm probably going to have to pie chart again. I have to be prepared for the opportunity that happens. We do get at least good pearl trades while this is all happening, so that's at least good. We get only 5 obsidian, so we're not going to be able to randomly portal out, but that's totally fine. We don't really expect to anyway. We have a stack and a half of pearls, which is phenomenal. The one thing that I'm worried about, though, is we only have 44 string, which is a little bit scary because although I'm confident with a 4-bed, that's only 3 beds, and Danny doesn't know how to use anchors. So even though I have a bunch of glowstone and 8 crying obsidian where I could make an anchor for the 1 cycle, Danny doesn't know how to do that. His chat doesn't know he knows how to do that, so I can't do it. So instead I have to wait for these string trades. I'm trying to get enough for at least 5 beds, but I end up only getting 56 string here. But again, that's okay. We can go to the library and the stronghold, but it's just something I have to be aware of, and I have to be aware if Danny is aware of it or not. Because if I get to the stronghold and he's like, okay, I gotta just find the portal room, I'm in a weird situation then, right? Because if I go off track to the library, it's going to be a little bit weird because it's something that he explicitly said he's not trying to do right now. He's just trying to go to the portal room. So things like that were things that were going on in my head that I had to be really aware of. Danny now, as you just said, I'll rewind it for a second. He says this.
I need to figure out where this thing is.
He needs to figure out where it is. So that's when I realized, okay, he has no idea where it is. So I have to redo my pie chart, set it up. I obviously know the direction, so I'm just going to set it back up, go the direction I need to go immediately, and just be on my merry way once he figures it out.
Okay.
He realizes it. We're good. And now he's set up. So I'm ready to go in the nether. Now all we have to do is traverse to the fortress. Beautiful. Awesome stuff here. Here's the problem. Danny doesn't throw pearls in the nether. So as much as I want to just rip pearls and get to the fortress as fast as I cannot do that right now. I have to wait for just running there, basically. And then I see a bajillion trillion hoglins. So I don't know what was up with the mobs in this Crimson. It was absolutely crazy. But I have to just run away from them, basically. I have to be very aware of my movement to not do anything that's, like, too speedrunnery. This movement here, like, probably a little bit too fancy. But I just wanted to get away from the hoglins. I was really scared. We did the hardest stuff at this point. Honestly, at this part in the run, it's like home free. So I really I'm focusing on like not dying as much rather than like remembering exactly what Danny has to do. And Danny actually sees his fortress before me.
Oh, shit. Oh!
When he says, oh, blank, he finds it immediately. Like I didn't even realize he saw it until he said that. And then I was like, oh, the fortress is probably on the screen. And I didn't even notice it. So I do some pretty dumb movement here. I make it kind of obvious that I'm playing. Because I do, like, I'm just speed running, like, speed jumping. I jump over that, like, way too nonchalantly. And then I kind of catch myself. I'm like, okay, I gotta slow down a little bit. Stop with the sprint jumping. Do like, a little bit more running like this. And just find the blaze spawner. So I'm like very carefully checking my angles, checking my directions. Even though I know there's a spawner in front of me, I'm still trying to be a little funny about it. And then I see the spawner here. Beautiful. Blazes. Easy. Nice and easy. You know, he doesn't know anything about like blaze bedding or anything like that. So I can't do that. I wouldn't do that anyway with the explosives that I have. So I had to be very, very cognizant of something like that. So we're just mining this away with an axe because why not? And then we just have to sit here and wait for the blazes. And if you watch this run live or have watched this speedrun, you know it's not something Danny mentions as much in his video, but these blaze rates were disgusting. Like, so bad. They actually pissed me off. This was the one thing in the run that really, really pissed me off. And I'll probably cut some parts here because this is just not important at all. So the next thing that's important, as I skipped ahead about a minute here, is I don't know where the portal room cores are. You see me, I just opened up the chat. That is me realizing I have no idea where to go back to our home portal. And I mention it to Jake, the cameraman, right now. I don't know where our home portal is. And then I kind of freak out. And Danny kind of freaks out because he hears me. So he's going to act like everything's totally fine. And then he's going to randomly be like, oh.
Oh, hell, dude. Do I not know where the portal is?
So now I have to show chat again. And he realizes we don't know where it is. His face cam is covering the cord. So he says, does anyone in chat know? But I try to, like, show him when he says this, like, hey, your chat, like, they aren't going to be able to see because when you press F3, it kind of hides your coordinates because of your webcam, as you can see right there. So that was a bit of a problem. But the one good thing about the blaze rods being absolutely horrific is I'm kind of mapping, I'm using this time to, like, remap the nether in my head that we already traversed. So I'm like, okay, where did I go? What was at our spawn that I can remember very vividly? What can I do to get back? Where did we trade from the piglins? So my first goal was like, okay, I remember that I spawned in and I got lava, so I had to be low to the ground. That's something that I realized. I had to be low to the ground. I also realized I climbed up somewhere and there was there were a lot of like lava, one block lava sources that were strewn across the nether. So I was very cognizant of those when I was like mapping this all back in my head again. So that's the two things that I was kind of looking for. Let's see if we can find low terrain somewhere. And let's see if we can find this, like, I remember very specifically, and I'll point it out when we get there, like a double lava block source, like very tiny pathway that I could go across. Here, I do something kind of stupid. I show how many blazes are killed. I don't know why I did this in hindsight. It was definitely just tilt. Danny has no idea what this is, and he's, like, kind of confused when I'm pausing at this. And I try to show, like, I'm trying to get him to show, like, oh, these blaze rods suck. I've only gotten 13. I've killed 13, and I've only gotten 4. In hindsight, incredibly stupid. And I should not have done that. But I was really just not happy with these blaze rates at all. Fast forwarding here, like, another minute or two. We are finally ready These are the blazes that I killed to get 8 blaze rods. I had to get 8 blaze rods. Oh, just kidding. That's not even the blaze rods. That give me 8. And he's not happy.
How is this possible? How is this possible? I swear, some people can do it by killing just 8 blazes. I feel like I've killed 200.
It was insane. I think when I checked it at the end, it was like 8 for 26 or something like that. It was just absolutely abysmal rates. But thankfully, I get the 8th rod here. Danny's excited. I'm excited. We're leaving the fortress. We're going to be able to leave the nether, which is great. We wanted to get 8 blaze rods because that's how much he said he feels comfortable with when he's like throwing eyes. And obviously, we don't know if it's going to be ocean exposed. We don't know how far it is, how many eyes are going to break. So 8 is the number I actually use when I am speedrunning random seeds and, you know, am not prepared for the disaster. So I was totally fine with 8. I felt very confident that 8 was going to be fine. And now I'm kind of using the nether and backtracking in my head, where do I need to go? So I was like, okay, I remember when we came in, there was the leg of the fortress that we passed. And again, at this point, I'm not really focusing on like doing things that Danny would do because I'm more thinking like I really do not want to lose the run at this point. So I remember this is where I pillared up. So I'm like, okay, I came from the right. I know I need to go right. And I know that my piglins were farther ahead of me, like farther straight than my portal was. So it's not super far ahead of me, and it's also to the right. So that's what's going through my head. I placed some blocks way too fast. Danny kind of realizes it and kind of saves it by saying like, oh, I placed that poorly.
Guys, I'm really bad at placing blocks down fast.
Yep. And then I have a good idea of where I am. I kind of see the direction of where I need to go. These are the lava strands that I was talking about. And I jump down here. Jump down one more time because I didn't want to take all the fall damage at once in case there was a hoglin that I didn't see. And then I know I need to go to my right here. And this right here, this is the very small path I was talking about that he's crossing right now. Or that I guess I'm crossing right now. And then I knew that it was through this little gap. And then I knew the portal was right here. So it was a little scary. Dude, Danny did not have any idea where the portal was. So he was really, really worried that I was going to mess this up here. Thankfully, I clutched up. And we timed this part perfectly where I showed him like I had my hands up. And it allowed him to like kind of react more and sell it more. Which is something we wanted to do when we were leaving the nether and we were entering the end. So you'll see me... I take my hands off again. I don't think he realizes it because he was just really nervous in the moment, but I do take my hands off again when we end up going into the end here. So first things first, though, we have to throw an Eye of Ender. We have to find where the portal room is. We have to find where the stronghold is. I get the direction. I don't know how he would have picked up these eyes. I just did it kind of how I did, just swimming in the boat. It's not like super hard of a trick to do, and I didn't want to waste time going all the way down to pick up the eyeballs. And we're just going now. Now we're just swimming. Mushroom Island on the right, really cool. Nothing really to report here until about 30 seconds in the future. Never mind. It's like 10 minutes in the future. It's like 2 minutes in the future. And Danny basically tells me to throw an eye.
Okay, maybe I'll throw another one real quick.
So I throw it, and then Danny's like, oh, it's the same direction. Danny actually told me to do this. Like, he said maybe I should throw another eye because I'm not in the stronghold ring yet, but obviously he's not like aware of stronghold rings and where I need to be for that. So to make it more believable, even though I'm just going in a single direction, it does make it more believable if we throw an eye there. So I was fine with it. I threw it. I know it was going to go the same direction. So that was fine. And then the next thing that you'll see as I just skip ahead here is that I see the stronghold really early. I see it right there. This right that's loading in. Oh, maybe it didn't load in yet. Right there. That is the stronghold. This right here that just loaded in, that's the stronghold. I know this at this point. I recognize this at this point. Danny has no idea. Danny's not aware at this point. So I try and just stare at it as long as I can because I want his chat to recognize it or him to recognize it. And then it gets to the point where when I see it and I load it in, I'm kind of hoping that he just looks at it. So this is me like kind of adjusting my mouse like, oh, do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? Like shake it a little bit like this is kind of it. This is kind of it. And then eventually he's not really like reacting. So I do a little under the water like, hey, look at the stone brick. And then he recognizes.
That's it right there. Oh, dude, whoa.
So he recognizes it. And now I'm thinking ocean exposed. This is sick. I'm looking for the portal room and I want to just send it. I want to send it with my 4 beds. I'm fine with that. But there was no portal room exposed here. So I did the nest specs thing, and I was like, okay, let's just play it safe. I'm looking for the portal room. I don't see it. I see the library to the right, and I decide, yeah, we should just go to the library. Let's get our safety string. Let's play smart. Let's not be reckless with this. This is the last chance. And Danny doesn't realize that this is the library. He thinks it could be the portal room. He's not obviously going to be, again, like as aware of like the different shapes of the rooms in the stronghold and everything. So I get out of my boat. I dig down here. And this worked out really well because I was able to get all the string we needed for the 1 cycle, which ends up being, I believe I got 6 beds worth, which is great because that is more believable if I'm doing it as Danny, even though he has actually performed incredibly well in 1 cycles in practice. But when it's the real deal, it's scarier, right? Like even in my PB, I do like a 7 bed because I was nervous out of my mind at the time. And even then I could do like 4 beds and 4+1s and 3+1s and whatever, but in the real deal it's harder. So it's more believable when I'm doing this. I really wasn't that nervous at this point. I was much more nervous in the nether, like dealing with the blazes, dealing with the piglins, hoping we get the trades. I was much more worried about the RNG aspects of the run rather than something like this, because I was really not worried about like messing up a 6 bed or something like that. I actually did a lot of practicing on Danny's setup just to kind of prepare myself. Like we did like probably about an hour's worth of practice, like him commentating over me while I'm practicing, asking him like what does he do, what doesn't he do, what would he do in the situation, kind of learning his play styles. And then I did my own personal, like while we were just waiting to set up, him and his editor were talking, I was doing a lot of 1 cycle practice because that was the thing that I was personally the most worried about. I really did not want to get to this point and mess it up. Okay. So thanks to that, I was able to feel really, really confident at this point and didn't feel like I was going to mess anything up. Now, I'm going to pause here because this is sketchy. This is the part of the run where I was the most stressed out for someone finding out that it was not me in post. And that's because it's really, really hard to navigate an ocean stronghold if you're not aware of what to look for. And obviously Danny's not going to be aware of what to look for, right? So as someone who is, I had kind of 2 options here. I could A, waste a lot of time in the stronghold and potentially be like, I don't know what direction to go and kind of go around. Or I could just go for the right thing and hope that everyone's just like so hyped in the chat that people are just not even going to realize that I'm kind of playing something like optimally like a speedrunner. So what I'm saying by that is Danny ends up getting to this crossroads here. Or we get to this crossroad here, right? So there's 3 ways to go. I already know at this point I need to go to my left because this is a blocked off hallway that doesn't exist normally. So that's a hidden room. We're behind a hidden room right now because we're not at the starter of the stronghold. This is fake, or not that these ways are fake, but they're going to take you deeper into the stronghold that we don't need to go because we already saw them exposed in the ocean, right? Like normally if this was all an underground stronghold, I might peek this way to see like, oh, is there a portal room right there? But since it was ocean exposed and I could see all around it, I didn't see the portal room, so I know it's not going to be this way. So I have to kill the zombie. I take my time to kill all the mobs here just because I don't want to be like too crazy and just leave the spider or something. So I decide like I'll just kill the spider, no big deal. And then I have to mine through here. Like I know the stronghold's this way. I'm gonna have to mine here at some point. So I just sell it. I look for starter staircase. I find it, and then I know it has to be down. So I go mid, I see the double down staircase. I'm like, okay, this is sold. Like, it's definitely not going to be anywhere else. And I just kind of send it. Like, there was no way to, like, hide where I was going. So I just kind of went slow. And there's the portal room. So Danny's hyped. I'm hyped. Because I don't think anyone really, like, realized that this was something that was a bit more fishy with me, like, mining through the wall. So I think it worked out really well. This I tried to play very slowly. I tried to do everything else like very, very slowly to kind of make up for the fact that I did something more optimally. And I took my hands off right here. And then I like wait for him to kind of like come back, and then I start going again. I realize he never took his hands off fully. It's funny looking at him like have his hand like lean so far back and have his hand out because like I moved my hand a little bit. So good on him for being aware of it. And then right now we're in the end, right? So now we just have one thing left to do.
Okay, this part is actually... No, I'm not going to say that. I was about to jinx myself.
The way that Danny does it is called an east-west 1 cycle, which is the less optimal way of doing a 1 cycle. It's slightly slower, but you have more time to react to the dragon, which I was very happy with because it just gave me a bajillion years to prepare for it and be ready for the 1 cycle. And realistically, there's not too much else to say. It's pretty straightforward in this sense. There's just... We have to 1 cycle the dragon, right? So I'm going to set up the obsidian, and then I'm just going to run back to the direction of the spawn area of the end. I misplaced a crying obsidian there, but I guess that makes it more believable. That was not the intention. I just suck. And I run back here. Normally, I would run to the right or the left and try and get a fast perch. But with this, it's fine. I have to get all my beds in my inventory because obviously Danny is not going to know how to middle mouse click your freaking beds into your inventory. So I had to get them all out my hotbar. I feel good about my hotbar. I'm not going to pearl, so there's no reason to put pearls in my hotbar. Got my food, got my axe, And now I'm just sitting here. And thankfully, the dragon actually perches really, really fast. You could see. It goes here. I already tell as soon as it circles here and then does one more turn, I know that that's a perch. So I kind of like get ready to move in as I see it do that. Danny, I think, also recognizes it, which is really nice. And then this perch ended up happening really, really fast. Super fast.
Oh,
there's
baby,
the perch.
dude. Okay.
And I would say enjoy the one cycle, but I just want to explain. The dragon's about to flip. I was terrified because Danny technically doesn't know how to do a flip dragon, but I was like, you know what? I got to send it anyway. 1, flip, 2, 3, 4. I do this one early because I want a 6-bed if we're flipping. A 5-bed flip is not believable enough.
What the?
And we beat the game in under 30 minutes. Let's go.
What? What the f?
And you could tell Danny never took his hand off his mouse because he didn't know that like the credit screen is done. So he looks at me and my hands are up like this. I'm like, dude, you can go crazy. Go crazy. So he takes his hands off.
What the fuck?
And we did it. And that is how I faked the speedrun with Danny Gonzalez. If you enjoyed this video, again, check out his in the description below. It's one of the best edited Minecraft speedrunning videos of all time, period. Just because of how funny Danny is and how well edited he and Jake and everyone on his team made the video. I'm eternally grateful for Danny for flying me out. It was such a cool, unique experience for me. And I am very happy to have been a part of such a cool video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I hope to see you in the next video. Peace out, everyone.